Radio. BlazinRadio.com, home for entertainment.
Some time. You got my heart in the palm of your hands. I swear it's gonna stay there, baby.
Hey. Welcome to Community Love in Black Roses Garden. Yes, indeed. Second show on the new network.
Flat out excited.
Yes, I am. I don't y'all hear the excitement in my voice,
to
right?
See it in your face.
Yeah. See, look at this pretty. I'm looking, I'm digging everything. It's like the second time in here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just getting the full
effect.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice that in picture, that little picture last week.
Yeah, we got it going on.
Yes,
A21, yes,
we
indeed.
do, Black.
Tune in each and every Friday from 2 to 4 p.m.
Yes.
Download the Ablazing Radio app. Also, go check us out on all of the social media platforms right now at Ablazing Radio. Set it on your dial, okay? Because we got a hot show for you today.
Yes, indeed.
It's Friday. It's the weekend.
Yes, indeed.
We got some stuff to do.
We got some stuff to do. We got some education to pass. We got to enlighten our people.
Yes, and of course, I can't do this by myself.
Well, I would say you could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to say that this time because I could if I wanted to, too.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
You better know it.
No, this is Angela Taylor, a.k.a. A21. As I tell you each and every week, A is for attitude. Attitude is absolutely everything. And 21 is the number of days that the experts say it takes us to begin the process to work to improve ours. And I contend, and I'd like to encourage everybody that in this climate that we are in, post-Trump, let us move from an attitude of apathy to a posture of action, because we got a lot to do.
Yes, we do. And phone lines are open, 240-949-2289. Right?
You know I'm going to have to get up and walk
2289, okay? Calling lines are open.
And we know how
Call
to do
us
the phones
up.
this week.
And it's on the marquee, okay?
Yeah.
So if y'all tuning into the show, the call-in number is on the marquee. Call us up, and we ready, okay? I ain't letting 14 calls go past this week, y'all. Y'all know it was new to me. All of this, high technology and stuff I got in front of me. Then I got this, this boss, okay, that, he been being patient and everything, but I love it. I love the new space.
I do too. And I said, don't even look at me for no help over there.
I got to get it together, but it's coming together. I said I had to cancel. I had to cancel our wine sponsors. Okay, and I had to tell them until I get this stuff together, y'all, we can't have wine right now, okay? Okay, I had to cancel them, because I used to go around there, around the Primos and get some wine and stuff. You know what I'm saying? They said, I told them, nah, we can't come get no wine.
Well, that's funny that you should say that, because I looked in the refrigerator and said, let me leave this in here.
I was hoping you brought it.
Wow.
I ain't saying I wouldn't accept it, okay? But yes, we've been lollygagging too much, because I know you got every time you sit down in that seat and in front of that mic, I know you got some gems to drop.
Yes, indeed.
Let's get busy.
So let's go to school. Go wherever you go to get your
work,
pad and your pencil, because today we are talking about the stimulus package, and I think that many people are just focused on that lump sum of money.
Right.
But there is a lot in this package, and that should bring a lot of children, number one, out of poverty, and at least get us on some good footing for the next 90 days. As you guys know, now look, a lot of people did jump the gun, but Biden didn't sign that bill until yesterday. Yes, indeed. And the bill does provide for $1,400 in direct money, checks going to Americans making $75,000 or less per year, and couples making up to $150,000. Now, if you file taxes in 2019 or in 2020, whatever you got on there is what they are, that's the litmus. That's what they're using to tell who makes what. Okay. Because it's adjusted gross income as well. So you could be making like around $100,000, but if you adjust your gross income and it comes to $75,000 or under, you're eligible to get that money. That's everybody. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, individuals will receive an additional $1,400.
We got a question from the live studio audience.
Okay. Come on, live studio audience, go bring it.
Say for example, you make over that 75,000. What does that mean? You're out of eligibility?
Yeah, if you are an individual and even though you're running a business, if you can get your business expenses and that kind of thing to put you under that $75,000, then yes, you get the money. If you're making $80,000 or better, because they have some nuances in there for folks as well. If you make, because I remember reading that there's a cutoff at $80,000 for individuals. Now, how that formula works, I'm not sure.
For business, so for not for individuals, so LLC. So say for example, it's over, because I know there are businesses that make over 75.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means
okay. I'm not to that part yet.
Okay. I just want to know. I just didn't want to to lose the opportunity.
Okay, here you go. Provide. I ain't got that yet.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
And y'all, I write down notes because I don't want to forget nothing. I want to make sure you get the right information. I check the Associated Press and Reuters and area newspapers before I even put it out there. So there's where we are. But anyway, we're still on the individual piece. I'm going to get back to this businessman's question in a minute. But this money will make a difference for struggling families, and that additional $1,400 per child in the household, which means a family of, with 3 children. My daughter's got 3 children. 1,400 times 3, that's $4,200 on plus the $1,400 that the parent will get. That's $5,000 that's going right into that household out the gate. So you guys, please pay attention to that. And if you got questions, you got elected officials, call them up. But I'm giving you what I gleaned from the readings that I got. Now, also, they're putting money in these folks' pockets right now. But I'm liking the fact that there are some senators. The Griot is reporting that there are some senators, and I'm 99.9% sure that most of them are Democrats, and they hinted to 2 Republican senators who are advocating that checks are recurring, that checks continue to come in month after month, at least until we get past the COVID streak and getting the economy stronger. So that's the first piece of that direct money coming directly into your household to benefit you and your children. And again, if you got questions about anything that we're sharing with you today, please get on your phones and call your elected officials, because I know you have them on speed dial, because me and Black been telling you that for about 3-4 years.
Y'all been getting these numbers for a long time. Like, not just on the show.
Yeah, that's it.
On a daily basis.
Exactly. The next thing that we need to be aware of is that there's a $350 billion with a B aid to state and local governments. And I thought that was important to point out because if you all remember, the last administration was doling out money if you were a red state or a blue state, or if you voted for him, if you didn't. And he had the power to not send money to those states who said something bad about him, which he did to places like New York. And at a point, he was even doing it to Maryland because he was getting criticized for that. But this package targets areas that saw higher levels of unemployment over the last 3 months of 2020. And it will boost near-term revenues for states, local governments, transit systems, and education providers.
Yeah.
That's big because a lot of schools do need to change up their air filtering systems, infrastructure within the schools, so it's safe to bring children back. It says $195 billion will be allocated to the 50 states and to Washington, D.C. That's of that $350 billion that's being allocated. And the rest is allocated based on unemployment numbers. So the higher the unemployment number is in that particular state, the more money that state gets. So basically that means states like New York, California, Texas, and Florida. And I'm kind of mad that Texas and Florida are falling into that number. But anyway, okay. And maybe, that's why
Why
this.
is it though?
Yeah, because DeSantis, who is the governor of Texas, of Florida, and Abbott, who is the governor of Texas, just opened their state up all willy-nilly, and stuff started spreading all over the place. And I don't know if that was a tactic that they used because they knew that money would be coming in, even if Trump was in. Or if the new person,
right.
They knew that they were going to get money. So, it may have been a tactic because they are full of dirty tricks. But because, to answer your question, because their unemployment numbers were that high, and because the state was so heavily impacted by the COVID spread, that's why those folks are getting that money. And let me see. They're all set. Those 4 states will receive about $10 billion each, and that doesn't count that other money that was in that first bunch. And let me see. Yeah, they've got money allocated for local governments and for cities. I don't know how that's going to be doled out, but thank God that is not my job. Okay. Okay. Now, there also is what the previous administration did not do is included $14 billion with the B dollars to speed up the distribution and administration of vaccines all across the country, and another $46 billion to expand COVID testing to enhance contact tracing capabilities, because that's something that Trump and his administration did not think was important. They wanted to downplay it. We can't afford to do that. But the number of deaths that's happened, it was just a bad political strategy all the way around. But anyway, Biden and Harris to the rescue. That money is coming, so testing and vaccines will be offered in the state. Here is a big one, folks, with children that I don't think got enough pub. But this is big. So when Biden makes his talk to break this bill down to the American public, and I believe that's happening either tonight or Monday, you need to get in front of this and look at it, because he's expanding the child tax credit. Now, I haven't done my taxes since Jesus was a baby. I have someone who does that for me, and if the IRS has a question, they call her and not me. So I'm loving that, but it's worth every dime of it to me. But anyway, long story short, the child tax credit used to be $2,000. Families will be getting recurring cash each month if they have children. So that's over and above that $1,400 that I said at the top of the show. This legislation will temporarily expand the child tax credit, increasing the amount from $2,000 to $3,000 for children between the ages of 6 and 17. And it will go up. If you have a child 5 and under, that tax credit goes up to $3,600. The amount is gradually reduced for couples earning over $150,000 and individuals over $75,000. We put that caveat in at the beginning. But families eligible for full credit will get payments of up to $300 per child per month from July through the end of the year, the end of this year, 2021. That's real money for real people to address real problems. Now, congressional Democrats in the White House are trying to figure out how to make this credit permanent. And the way it can be made permanent, folks, is if you call particularly your United States senators and your House member to say they want that made into law. Okay? Now, instead of the, we're moving to the jobless benefits now. Instead of the $400 that was in the previous bill, it's going to $300 per week. Now, the benefits will extend through September the 6th, so there is a cutoff on that. But right now, this minute is when folks need the help, and it's coming. The big thing about this piece is the first $10,000 in unemployment payments is going to be non-taxable. So that will reduce your net income, which is what the tax, your gross income, which is what the tax schedule is governed by. So if you make $100,000, hypothetically, and I'm just doing this as an example, if you make $100,000 and you've been on unemployment, you only will be legally obligated to report $90,000. That's a tax break for little people. That's major. Okay. Now, the small business paycheck protection, that PPP, that Jared Kushner and Tom Brady and Robert Kraft took advantage of in the last CARES package. We're going to have some oversight on that, and I'm excited about that. So the small business paycheck protection will actually be going to small businesses. Now, the bill includes a little over $7 billion in new money for the small business loan program known as the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, and will allow more nonprofits to apply. And that includes groups that engage in advocacy, which would be Black Rose and Jewel Stroman, because Black Rose does, as you know, missing and murdered, and Jewel Stroman is a staunch advocate of the homeless in D.C. Nonprofits will be able to get some of that money. And it also allows for larger nonprofits to be eligible as well. So keep those things in mind. But if you got a small business and you are paying somebody other than yourself, this is so worth calling your elected official, because they should know the answer to all of these questions, or the Small Business Administration to get information. All right. Keeping on the moving right along. There's more than $128 billion with a B in grants to state educational agencies, with 90% of that total allocated to local education agencies, plus another $39 billion in grants to higher education institutions. Major. This is a big deal, people, because the biggest thing I see is you guys are going to be getting some relief, finally, since this pandemic started. I mean, some real help, not a paycheck, not $600. $600 helps. Everything helps when you ain't got no money. But this is going to be spread over. These things are not one-shot deals. So the sooner you get your information in front of these agencies, the better. Another $15 billion in funds are directed to the Child Care and Development Block Grant Program. And for those of you guys who may not know what a block grant is, a block grant can be allocated to a wide range of programs and services. But this falling under the educational piece, folks who may not have been able to afford to have somebody sit with their children while they're working, at least for the end of this year, they're going to be able to do that. And folks who have suggestions on, or not suggestions, who have child care centers and after school programs, because they have before care and after care, or at least They have those programs in school. That money, if you are, looking to make that suggestion or help that school, that's money that you can apply for if you are a nonprofit. Now, the Senate, even though not one Republican voted for the stimulus package, even though they were trying to hold it up and throw all kinds of roadblocks in the way, not one of them voted to support the American people. So that is something, folks. When we say wake up and pay attention, you need to write those names down, particularly if you have Republican senators representing you on the Hill, because they can't go back there, because they were willing, folks like Mitch McConnell were willing to tank your state government just because he could. And I'm very happy to report, and this is kind of as an aside, I read in Our Democracy, that's an online newspaper, that Mitch McConnell is contemplating resigning. Yay. Okay. But again, what I was about to say is the Senate added a provision to make any student loan forgiveness passed between December 31st, 2020 and January 1st, 2026 tax-free. Because I just learned that folks who were paying on student loans, that's treated as taxable income. I did not know that. So again, if there's any student loan forgiveness, which is what I know Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have been pushing for, if that happens up until January 1st, 2026, it's tax-free. So again, that's more money in your pocket. You have to look at the tangibles as well as the intangible stuff that you can't put your hands on today, but that will benefit you down the road. Okay, next thing, this piece of legislation, this American Rescue Act that Joe Biden just signed into law, includes $4.5 billion for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, and that helps families with home heating and cooling costs. One provision will give the Agriculture Secretary of Agriculture, who is no longer no, that wasn't Ben Carson. He was Housing and Urban Development. But anyway, it's going to give the Agriculture Secretary the autonomy to raise or, to add funding to temporarily boost the value of cash vouchers for supplemental food programs and WIC. That's only going to be for a 4-month period during the pandemic, but help is help. Alrighty. There is $1.4 billion with a B in funding for programs authorized for older folks, the Older Americans Act. And that includes support for nutrition programs, community-based support programs, and the National Family Caregiver Support Program. There's money in there for that. The bill provides $37 million, this is with an M, to the Commodity Supplemental Food Program for low-income seniors. I didn't even know that program existed until I started reading, because I've been reading this stuff all week long. It works to improve the health of low-income persons at least 60 years of age by supplementing their diets with USDA foods. Now, the USDA distributes both food and administrative funds to participating states and the Indian tribal organizations. So that's something that has not happened. That's happening now. For public health, God knows we've been in a public health crisis for over a year now. And finally, we got somebody with a brain cell who is addressing it, and it's getting it taken care of, in my opinion, really quickly. And maybe it's because I was just so desperate to see some change, but I'm glad we are all singing it. Okay, for the public health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is set to receive $7.5 billion to track, administer, and distribute COVID-19 vaccines. There's another $46 billion to go toward diagnosing and tracing coronavirus infections. That's something we've never had, and that's something that is crucial, or has been crucial all along, to stop the spread. And another $2 billion will go toward buying and distributing various testing supplies and personal protective equipment. This is something that, well, we all know it wasn't done by the previous administration, even though those same Republicans who would not agree to give the American people any kind of assistance want credit for getting the vaccine out. I don't know why they want credit, but I guess it's to take your eyes off of the insurrection, all of the criminal activity that took place in the last administration. The only thing that, in my opinion, that Republicans are masterful at is distracting you from the real problem. We have got to keep our eye on the ball. We have gotten engaged. We must stay engaged. We don't have an option. So that's that for the public health piece. For the business support, now, I already talked about the PPP and money that was allocated for that, but there is additional money in there. There are a variety of provisions that offer support to different industry, and the Small Business Administration, the SBA, will get $25 billion for a new grant program for restaurants and other food and drinking establishments. That one only, because that is the entertainment industry, particularly the restaurants and bars, have suffered, and many of them have gone out of business. But the Biden administration had the foresight to start looking at that immediately after the election, and saying that we needed to get some kind of supplemental, some kind of rescue bill, some kind of funds to that particular working environment, the restaurants and food and drinking establishments. So grants will be up to $10 million per entity and $5 million per physical location, with a maximum of 20 locations. So hypothetically, the gentleman who owns this studio can apply for some of that $5 million that the SBA has. Now, the legislation also sets aside another $5 billion of the total money to be targeted to businesses with less than $500,000 in revenue in 2019. And the legislation includes another $1.25 billion for the SBA's Shuttered Venue Operations Grant Program. The bill includes $7.25 billion in new money for the Small Business Loan Program. It also allows, as I said before, larger nonprofits to be eligible. So we got to pay attention, and we've got to take advantage of this stuff. Now, I know there's some folks who have brick and mortar businesses who really don't know all of the nuances as it relates to that. Again, I encourage you, call the agency, call the SBA, call your elected official, because again, everybody who's sitting in the office getting our taxpayer dollars or taking home paychecks because they represent us, you need to put them to work. You need to make them accountable, because this is stuff that they should know. Okay, now, in an effort to support the transportation sector, and I have every confidence that Buttigieg is going to dot every I, cross every T, do his due diligence and his needs assessment all over the country, if he hasn't done it already. The legislation allocates nearly $30 billion for transit costs, and that's including payroll and personal protective equipment for those kinds of agencies. So that's separate and apart from what I've shared with you before. Another $8 billion for airports, $3 billion for a temporary payroll support program to help support the aerospace manufacturing industry, and $1.5 billion to recall and pay Amtrak. You know, that was Joe Biden's baby, the Amtrak employees who were furloughed because of the pandemic, and to restore the various daily routes. Because people, even though it's not that many folks traveling, and I'm talking about in comparing to the big scheme of things, may not be that many folks traveling, but they still have to maintain. The folks can get from point A to point B. Say, for instance, folks who representatives from New York may want to go home on a regular basis, but have not been able to because of the pandemic. Because of this money, they'll now be able to travel a little more freely, back and forth. Okay. Last but certainly not least is rental assistance. And that's in this bill. There's a $25 billion for emergency rental assistance, and that's including $5 billion for emergency housing vouchers for people experiencing homelessness, survivors of domestic violence, and victims of human trafficking. That's very targeted. That piece is very targeted. So if you've got those kinds of issues, again, reach out to your elected officials. You heard that there's some rental assistance bundled up in this American Rescue Plan, and you need some help. They ought to be able to point you in the right direction. Now, as we know, or as we should know, the polls that have been taken by the various poll takers, the Quinnipiacs and Reuters and all of those folks, they estimated that between 69 and 76% of all Americans, and that's including 54% of the Republicans that they surveyed, supported this bill. Yet again, not one Republican in the United States Senate and the overwhelming majority in the House did not sign on to pass this bill. So these are things that we have to keep in mind when we consider voting next year, because there are 34 Senate seats that are going to become open next year. So people are going to be promoting, politicking, and all of that stuff all around the country. But you need to know that of that amount, 22 of those seats are Republican held. 4 Republicans have already put in their papers, because I'm guessing they're tired of fighting, the infighting. That would be,
and they know they're gonna be fired.
Yeah, exactly.
We clean the house.
Yes, indeed. That's what we got to do.
I've been telling people, this ain't it. This is not over.
We just getting started.
And so we have to start paying attention to what's going on now. I think people are more focused on what's going on with these politicians, what they're doing and what they're not doing.
Exactly.
And kind of understanding
and that's
why they need to do certain things and why they shouldn't do certain things.
Yeah, but that's the thing that excites me, Black, is that, when we first started this, wasn't getting a lot of questions in my little message box. And now I'm getting questions on a daily basis.
Yeah.
What do I do? Again, I just think that that's our ministry. We need to educate and enlighten so these people can be empowered. I know that when I worked for the legal industry for as long as I had, I saw almost on a daily basis Black folks lose so much because they couldn't pick up the phone and call anybody, or didn't feel like they could, and ask, how they should position themselves in a given situation or what their rights were. And as I said the other week, as I always say, that is the big thing that I will always thank Minus 45 for. He started opening people's eyes up.
Yes, he did.
And making
Yes,
them
he
pay
did.
attention and listen.
Sometimes some things are very necessary.
Yeah.
We might not understand. That's why, my grandmother used to say, it's gonna either be a blessing or a lesson.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Different situations is going to either turn out to be a blessing for you or a lesson.
Mm-hmm,
but you have to learn from the lesson.
Exactly.
You can't just take it and say and just let it just destroy you. You have to. It's some even though it could have been really bad. It's some learning from that.
Exactly.
So it's always, I looked at it, I couldn't understand what was going on.
Uh-huh.
Why our people,
Right.
and when I say our people, I mean we the people,
Yes.
because that's what I'm talking about. We the people. Why we wasn't more active in 2016. You can sit up here, y'all. I hear all of y'all complaints now, and he's this and he's that. He did this and that, but in 2016, y'all could have stopped that. But y'all minds are not open further enough to even, for one thing, a lot of you all, because I did a little poll.
All right.
A lot of people did not want a woman president.
Wow.
That was what it was all about.
Oh, I believe that. I think white people, especially white men, hate women more than they hate the skin tone, the black folks. I believe that to the core of my spirit.
And I believe it in to a certain extent when it comes to the male race. The male race, whether they black, white, green,
Yeah, the
purple, or
gender,
yellow.
exactly.
It's the gender. It's because they have in their mind, like I talked to some of them, and they really think that we supposed to be barefoot and pregnant.
Yep. And a lot of them think that men just genetically are smarter than women.
Yeah, that we don't, but we bring your children into the world. We balance your checkbooks and ours because there's a lot of us out making money, just as much money as you are. You know what I'm saying? We deserve to be, because we can have babies and we populate the world. We the shit. We the SHIT, okay? We the SHIT, and y'all know it. If it wouldn't have been for us, it wouldn't be no you.
That's it.
Understand that. Because you can't have the babies.
No, that's it.
That's
right.
and yeah, you might can bring home the bacon, but most of y'all can't fry it up in the pan.
You ain't wrong.
You understand? So we know that. And that's the whole thing. That's the same thing with when Kamala was.
Right. Right.
It wasn't the fact that, some people had the stupidest things to say, but it was just the fact that she was a woman.
That's right.
That was the biggest problem. You know what I'm saying? But it is Women's History Month.
It is.
And we make history 365 days a year. Okay?
All the time.
We birth history. Okay? We give birth to potential history makers. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all see where I'm going with this? Okay, so never underestimate us, and that's why the world is kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
For real.
But the countries that have women leaderships are not screwed up.
Exactly. They don't have crime in a lot of them. They might have a lot, like
they were the first ones. Those were the first countries who got the numbers down. Australia, I think, New Zealand. That's what I was thinking. New Zealand, and it's a couple other countries over there. But, we take things, we pay attention to the facts. Facts matter. We pay attention to the data, like I was saying at the top. People lie, numbers don't.
Exactly.
And women know that.
Okay.
And they
all the
act
time.
accordingly. So we need to get off of that soapbox.
Yes,
we need to get
indeed.
off of that one.
Yes. That was the DJ.
Oh.
That was Layla.
Okay, she's not gonna hang around.
Not now. She's coming to get her fill of stuff. You know what
All
I'm
right.
saying?
Good
She's
stuff.
still in school and everything. Cause see, We about to have girl power up in here.
Yes, indeed. Tell people a little bit about that before I continue with what's going on.
Yeah, we got a DJ that's going to be coming soon, and she's 16 years
Yes.
old, and her name is Layla, and she's fire, and she's going to be our music director.
Yeah. I like that ringtone. Here it comes.
Community Love, Black Rose Garden. Who do I have on the phone?
I would like to speak to Junior Horse.
I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. Yeah, we're sorry, y'all.
Yes, indeed.
I had to wake the mouse up a little bit. But the phone lines are open, as y'all can see. Okay, so, hey.
If you got any questions about what's in the stimulus package and we can answer them, please feel free to give us a call. But right now we're going to move on through the agenda because I've seen stuff up and down the timeline. People are looking for resources to hold them over for food and people having questions about COVID. Let me address my nail tech first. Because my arms have not fallen off. I have all of my limbs. I have not gone blind. I still have all of my faculties. And I had the shot. Because she would always say, yeah, I'm not getting this shot because
Well, yeah, we going to talk. Community Love in Black Rose Garden. Who do I have on the phone?
This is Isha, Black Rose. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for calling in. I got it together.
Listen, I want to say this. First, I need the world to know that y'all are blessings from God above. I'm not the type of sister that sit there and watch all of that CNN and all of that stuff. My husband do it, but I'm not. I have to watch y'all to understand what they say and to break it down to human terms.
Yeah.
Because some of those say, I don't know. I have lack of knowledge of a lot of those words that they use, the terminology. I'm an accountant. I'm not into that. So I just want to thank y'all for what you're doing. I will continue to keep y'all in prayer. And I'm just so blessed that I have y'all in my life.
I'm so blessed to have you in my life, girl. I love you to death. You know that.
Hashtag me too.
And as soon as this stuff, because I've been kind of scared, of even being around people and stuff because, this stuff going on, but I can't wait for us to just kick it, okay?
Yes, indeed.
And when you in the area, you better come on through here. The door is always open to you.
Next Friday, I'm bringing a bottle.
Yes, let's do it.
I'm bringing the red.
Let's do it. I love you so much. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, let's get back to the show.
Okay.
That was really nice. That was
Yes,
really
yes.
nice. And that, again, that's a big reason why we do it because, well, I'm not the swiftest deer in the forest, but I pay attention. Okay.
Yeah. Like I was telling you, we have to meet people where they are.
Right.
That's the first thing she said. I like the way it's explained.
Right.
And you understand what I'm saying? That's very important.
Exactly.
And that's what keeps people interested when they can understand what you're saying. When you're just talking to them and you're saying all these big words and all of this stuff, we don't know.
Right.
But when you take the time out like you do and explain it to us like 2-year-olds, like I told you sometimes you're going to have to, because it's like we're learning this stuff all over again because they taking it out of school.
Exactly.
So it is like we're going to school.
And I'm amazed too. I'm pleasantly surprised because I just read every day because I just think that it's stuff that we need to know. But you said that you get in your bed and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
2 other women called me and told me that.
Yeah, because it's relaxing. Because sometimes, like, I like my coffee. And I like my little, cigarette.
Gotcha.
And I get me an Angela Taylor video. And I listen to the Black the Black History, readings and stuff, and it's very soothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, like I said, I'm blind as a bat. So, them books and stuff, I got to go get my glasses and stuff. But to hear you read them, it's just, I love it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And this is another thing,
adult
too.
storytelling. That's what I was telling people. That's what I call it, adult storytelling.
Because, again, if the schools are not going to teach our children, our history dictates that we have to. Dr. Maulana Karanga, who came up with the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, he did research and he did studies to learn what the culture was, what our habits were, what our values were when we were in Africa, because we weren't always running around in Africa with nothing on our chests and just butts covered. We had businesses and that kind of thing. And while the folks didn't understand the language when we were stolen from Africa, they could understand what they saw. And it's like I was telling folks, since we were the ones, once you sit back and think about history in general, we were the ones doing all the work. So we had to come up with ways to make our lives a little bit simpler. Because, because we had it hard, and that's long story short.
Right.
Okay. But stuff like the mailbox, the refrigerator, the air conditioning, the elevators, you name it, we did it because we were the ones doing the work. And that's just, once I did the reading and the research, it's just common sense when you go back and look at those things through the history of the patents and the patent office and that kind of thing. The magnitude and the volume of things that were stolen from us. And that's why I constantly remind you as well, we got to keep pushing back. Go ahead, Black.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back.
Yes.
I think you're truly something special. Oh gosh, Giovanni. My dreams are really made up.
Keep it locked 24/7, 7 days a week. ABlazinRadio.com, home for entertainment.
We here at Ablazing Radio love our listeners, which is why we encourage you to practice the CDC guidelines and recommendations to fight the novel coronavirus COVID-19. Wash your hands for 20 seconds using hot water. Practice social distancing, meaning staying 6 feet apart, and wear your mask. We want to see you again. Stay safe, family.
It's Soca Gold 2020. Soca Gold is back with the hottest soca hits and biggest Caribbean Carnival anthems, including Super Blue and Ravi B, Omale, Bunji Garlin, The Struggle, Faye and Lyons, Don, Edwin Hayward, I Can't Help Myself, Iowa George and Viking Ding Dong, Wet Fat, Ricky T, especially, Just D, Touch, and many more. Soca Gold 2020 features all of your favorite artists on one burning hot compilation. Grab yourself a copy of Soca Gold 2020 now. Available on iTunes, at vpreggae.com, or wherever you get your soca and reggae music. VP Records, miles ahead in reggae and soca music.
The Jerk Pit in College Park, serving
show. Our love will grow. And I know love will be right here. Be right here. Right here. Be right here. No fear. Have no fear. No tears.
Since you were looking for your friend, the one you let hit it and never called you again. Remember when he told you he was about to Benjamins? You act like you ain't him, they give him a little trim to begin. Now you think you really gon' pretend like you wasn't down and you called him again. Plus when you give it up so easy, you ain't even fooling him. If you did it then you probably can. Talking out your neck saying you're a Christian, a Muslim, sleeping with the gin. Now that was the sin that did Jezebel in. Who you gon' tell when the repercussions spin? Showing off your ass cause you thinking it's a trend, girlfriend. Let me break it down for you again. You know I only say it cause I'm truly genuine. Don't be a hard ride.
But I'm starting to question that was me. I'm not looking for just an affair. Oh no, want a love that is based on true, not just dead. Right now you decide that you are not ready to settle down. If you want my heart, then it's time that you start to act like you're mine in the light and the dark. If you love me, say it. If you trust me, if you want me, show it. If you need me, love me, say it. If you trust me, do it. If you want me, show it.
Come on, clap your hands, wind it up if you're feeling alright. Clap your hands, wind it up if you're feeling the vibe. Nod your head from side to side as you ride the vibe. Cause it's a party all night. You can't fight the feeling you feel it cause you feel it fine. With nothing really on your mind. It doesn't matter if you're with your crew because you can feel the same way too. I came to get down. You came to get down. I like how this sound. Cause it's a party over here, party over there, party right here. Hey, you over there. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going now. Keep it flowing, keep it flowing, keep it flowing now. Keep it going, cause this is for you. So,
No doubt. Turn your radio up. Giovanni's gonna represent with that international heat. Follow him. Geovoni.
Girl, I know it's been hard since he went away and left you so sad. You cry every day. Let me kiss your tears, erase all your doubts. 'Cause for you I'm here. You won't be without love. That's right. Don't need a man that'll give you money. Come on, let me show you just what you need. Don't need a man that'll give you
we've been together and you know our heart try. So why would you just keep your feelings inside? Don't understand what people say to make you feel. My heart, my mind, my soul, my love ain't for me. Girl, you got to understand me. I'm not a flirt.
We are back, y'all. We are back. Yes. I want to send, just a warm, just get well soon, D. Okay? That's to my girlfriend, D. She's in the hospital right now. I ain't going to get all into it and everything. I'm not, going to put it out there, but I just want to, I'm praying for her. And just keep her in your prayers, y'all, for real. And we're at the second half of the show, and I really wanted to touch bases on this vaccine.
Yep.
People are, because I've been getting a lot of, because I was for it at first.
Right, uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
And I was against it.
Yeah, and you were against it, yeah. You were against it at first, and I was for it at first, and now I'm feeling some kind of way.
Yeah, well, I would be feeling some kind of way, too, if somebody who I knew, trusted, and loved was fine all the way up to the time that they took the shot.
Yeah.
I would be suspect, given the history of this government, especially. And what comes to my mind is the Tuskegee experiment, Miss Evers boys, all that kind of stuff. And like I was saying before, with the number of folks who participated in that insurrection, you had CEOs, you had lawyers, you had police officers, you had medical personnel who were in there. And white folks, historically, if you've been following the readings, will just do mean, divisive and malicious stuff just because they can hurt somebody of color.
Yeah.
And that's that just crosses my mind when you tell me things like you're sharing with me, because you don't know what a racist looks like.
No, you don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
but
they know what a color people look like.
Kind of today, because it's like Trump, number 45, he has pulled the mask off of people.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so now, yeah, you used to didn't know how racists look like, but now you can.
Well, the thing is that they are emboldened.
Yeah, they
you don't have to second guess.
Yeah,
They'll tell you.
Yeah, they coming on out with it. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. You know, all I know is people is feeling some kind of way. I'm feeling some kind of way about this. And we have had over 100,000 people tested in Prince George's County. Prince George's County is big. Okay, and I was
close to 1 million.
Yeah, and I was talking to the Lyft driver on the way here, and we were talking about that, and he was like, "That's a very small number, you know, when it comes to people vaccinated."
The big scheme of
you
things.
know, yeah. When and then you have to think about it. It's majority of us,
Right.
and I'm not saying it's majority of us, and is no vaccines available. What I'm saying is a lot of us is just not willing to do it.
Yeah, a lot of us aren't willing to do it, and
a lot of us
the vaccine wasn't available under
Yeah.
the Trump administration.
Yeah, it wasn't available. Yeah, it wasn't. But at the same time, it's a lot of us that's just not willing to do it.
But you know what really convinced me? Because you really convinced me when you said that children can't go to school without getting the vaccine. And I said, and you know, when I sat back and I thought about it, that just makes total sense. And then I was talking to Pop, that said, you know, God only promised us 70. I'm in my bonus years, so, and I trust the science. So, and I did ask my niece, which one do you recommend, because you know she's in that group of folks who has input in the vaccines. And I look at the woman, the black girl, up at NIH. And, you know, when you made that comment, Fauci, because I tend to take anything white people say with a grain of salt. I just do. That's just how I'm wrapped. But when the black girl did that black scientist did that, and she said, you know, she told me basically the same thing that my niece told me. I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that.
I've been told the same thing. I've been following Dr. Jennifer Collier. She on Facebook, and she, you know, she got her second one, and her parents got their second, and I've been following people like that. I've been following a lot of black doctors and people talking about that stuff. But I have to be realistic. You know what I'm saying?
You suspect because your girlfriend got a shot.
And not only that, I wasn't just suspect of that. It's just the whole thing. You know, even working in research.
Right.
You know,
yes,
I'm not saying that it's not effective, you know, where it's not going to stop us from getting the coronavirus. But what I'm saying is, it's like, people, talk to your doctors, okay?
Yes.
Talk to your doctors, especially if you have illnesses like diabetes and lupus and, you know, sickle cell anemia, you know, all of those type of things. Talk to your doctors, okay? I talk to my doctor, you know what I'm saying? And he want me to be comfortable.
Yeah,
he gave me all of the do's and the don'ts, and you know what I'm saying, he's my doctor, so I get blood tests,
right,
I get annual checkups,
right,
you know, physicals, all of that stuff. So I have you know, a blood workup. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You know, all of that stuff. And so he just told me, you know, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you the both sides of it. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be comfortable to say whether you want to do it or not.
Another thing too, both Pfizer and Moderna have the ingredients online. They have the fact sheets and they have everything that's in their vaccines. And I felt better
Once
for
you
me
read that,
when I read it, and I could ask questions to my doctor. I just felt
it's
better.
a lot of people, like I said, I don't have too many health issues or anything like that, but at the same time,
You ain't trying
you
to
know,
die.
No, I'm not trying to die, and
Yeah.
I don't want to put this stuff in me. I don't even want to feel sick.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to, because I haven't, as far as I know, unless I was asymptomatic, you know what I'm saying, or something, I've never came across it.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? As far as I know, you know what I'm saying? Because I ain't had no fevers. I probably drove myself crazy staying in the house all the time, and not because it came to
It
a
was
point
scary.
in time.
It was
yes, I
scary.
didn't even want to touch my grandchildren.
Because again, because when you don't know what the cause is,
I didn't even want to touch my grandchildren. We lived in the house at the same house together.
Yeah.
And I was scared. I didn't want to kiss on them. I didn't want to. I felt bad.
No,
and
I
my
know.
mother was like, them your grandbabies. You know what I'm saying? Like, they look to you for that every day. That's why they come in that room every day, because they
Right.
want that kiss and they want that hug. And they come in every 5 minutes, talk about, grandma, you all right? Grandma, you all
Right.
right? You know, so I had to think about that, but at the same time, I didn't want to make them sick.
Right.
I ain't want to be sick.
Right.
You know, my daughter-in-law, she was going back and forth, you know, to work and stuff.
Right,
You
right,
know
right.
what I'm
That was
saying?
the big
And
thing that I
so,
think.
yeah, it was like one of them things is I ain't want her to be sick. You know what I'm saying? Even though she's a special police officer and she was working in the World Bank, and during that
Right,
time,
right.
it wasn't people even there.
Right,
You
exactly.
know, she was just securing the premises. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I don't know.
Well, here was my thing, because my daughter had it, and she had 3 boys in her house, and I know that oldest one, you know, in retrospect, he was scared to death that he was gonna lose her.
Yeah.
But long story short, they were in there confined with her. They followed the directions that me and Pop gave them. Can't catch it.
Yeah, my uncle Calvin was sick. He
Right.
had COVID-19, and he lived in the house with my parents and my grandfather, my 91-year-old grandfather
Right,
at
yeah.
the time, and then neither one of them got sick.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I found out he was sick, I called and got them tested immediately.
Right,
You know what I'm
right. I
saying?
remember.
And he was in the hospital at the time, and I did not, once I found out they was negative and everything, I didn't even want him to come back to the house.
Right.
You
right.
know what
I
I'm
remember
saying?
you said
So
that.
I talked with the, social workers and things at the hospital, like he gonna have to do that quarantine there.
Yeah.
Because nobody is gonna be able to take care of him.
Exactly.
Nobody is gonna be able to go in that room and stuff with him. Point blank, period.
Right,
Especially
exactly.
when you have, my grandfather's 91 years old. He was 91 years old. My mother is older.
Right.
With, few little health issues here and there.
Right.
And then I have a niece, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so she has a few little health issues, and breathing issues is one of them. So I just didn't want to risk that.
Yeah, and
I
that's
ain't wanna-
understandable.
Yeah, and they were trying to send him home and everything else.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. You
Yeah.
said,
Yeah, I had to tell him, what y'all gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
You can bring him here in the ambulance if you want to. You're going to
Yeah.
be taking him right back.
That's it. Because that was just a dumb move on their part.
Yeah, to
even
know
do
that you're going to bring him back there and
an
my
infected
brother-
person into a safe environment.
Yeah, an affected person into a safe environment. They are supposed to be quarantined.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, with that, y'all need to really talk to your doctors. Make sure that, your health is, what is the, what are the side effects to it? Are you going to be able to handle it and all of that? Because I just, a lot of people has this thing about they're injecting you with the COVID-19. How true is that? Is that
No,
true?
that's not true.
Okay.
Not true.
Okay. So where can they find these ingredients to these?
They can go to, let me see, because I know I printed mine out, and I believe, hold tight. Ta-da, because I had my little handy dandy notes marked. If I can find the note page. What I would recommend, if you live in the state of Maryland, call the medical office in Prince George's County. I got that number from town hall about 3 weeks ago. And that number, I gave it away last week. I'm giving it to you again. It's 301-952-4213. And see where you can print out the Pfizer and the Moderna information. I believe I printed mine out at when I navigated through the Prince George's County website. But if you want the sure shot information, call the medical office. And again, that number is 301-952-4213. Or even go, I would guess that you could go to Pfizer or Moderna's website and print off a fact sheet, what's in the vaccine, what the side effects are, or what the potential side effects are, what their data has shown, people have reported back to them. You may experience it, you may not, but they just want you to look at all of those things. And I know for me, when I went to get the vaccine, I didn't know if I was having a hot flash or if I was having reactions to the medicine. But because I was hot, they had you sit down, put you to the side, we got to watch you, that kind of thing. It did subside after about 10 minutes. But the Prince George's County Health Center, I thought, was very attentive to everybody who even thought they were having any kind of a reaction to the vaccine. So I'm comfortable with it now. I would just be glad when the teachers can get it, because I think that's the only way that you're going to have some kind of level of comfortability with them going back into the classroom. Because
mine ain't going back until then. I don't care. They're going to have to take us to court, lock us up and all of that, throw away the key.
But Prince George's County is the only one that has not opened back, is the only county in the entire state.
I mean, if they don't have those guidelines put down where those, those teachers are at least vaccinated, the principal, the
everybody who's in the school should be
vaccinated. If that, don't happen, then, But like I said, y'all go. And get these, go look at the ingredients and things, and before you just rule it all out, because it's going to have to be done. If you want, because I don't want to walk around with, thinking like I've been thinking for the past year. You know what I'm saying? I want to come to a point where we don't have to wear these masks anymore. Down the hand washing and all that stuff. No, that shouldn't stop, because no. Okay, because see, y'all, that's the whole thing. When they take away the mask, that don't mean
stop washing
your hands and stuff when you're picking up your nose and turn on.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, it don't mean that. Okay,
indeed.
So continue to wash your hands. Even when they say, you don't have to wear the mask no more, they ain't going to never tell you not to wash your hands no more.
That's the germiest place on your body.
Yes, it is. And y'all know y'all want to touch people in the face. You want to walk up to people and shake their hand, and you got all kinds of all of that all on your hands and stuff. Get it together. Get it together. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Missing and Murdered.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, because you know I had it's missing. We're entering communities loves missing persons segment. It's a lot to talk about. First of all, I want to send my condolences out to the family of Destiny Smolder. From New York, Queens, New York. It was a young lady that I had been advocating for. She was reported missing November the 3rd from Queens, New York. They just found her remains on Wednesday in the back of a car. Well, what they believe to be her. You know what I'm saying? And most likely it probably is. You know what I'm saying? And so they found their remains.
How old was she, Black?
26 years old, and she was a mom. Okay, so it's never that
those
right
are
there.
heartbreaking.
Those are very heartbreaking because, like I said, just linking up with some very great advocates in New York who told me about her story, who asked me to share her story. Her story is also featured, and it's going to be featured in this missing person documentary that's going to be coming out. Okay, y'all, look. And another thing with that, because I just talked to them again, and it's a possibility that they might be back here on the 19th. In the to add some more,
all right,
because we're coming up on the Relisha Rudd part of it, and it's still, you know,
it's still
with
hanging
that
out there.
it's still a lot of stuff.
I'm still feeling some kind of way about her mama. I am.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that because I got a surprise for you on that situation, too. I'm talking about because it's some new stuff that's been happening, okay? Now, like I said, there'll be, you know, we breaking this documentary down, and we still got some more things to add on. So I would have Keisha Davis in the studio on the 19th, and we're going to be talking about the 19th, why the 19th is so important when it comes to the Relisha Rudd case.
That's next Friday. All right.
Why it's so important, you know, the day, the 19th.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of you all know that, you know, her case, she was actually, it was eluded. You know, her mom eluded the police for 18 days.
Yeah.
So the March the 1st date is what the police came up with because that was actually the last sighting of her.
Right.
You know, last sighting of her. We didn't get to see that, but trust and believe me, there's another sighting of her that exists. Okay, is another one. Yeah, it's another sighting of her. I'm talking about. We saw that god awful tape, that video of her
coming down the hallway.
That was February the 26th.
Okay.
2014. Okay. What's so significant about March 1st is because she was also in another hotel March the 1st.
Wow.
There's a video tape of her in another hotel room. Another hotel. Actually, the hotel right across the street from the Holiday Inn Express that she was seen in on February the 26th.
Wow.
Okay, so she was seen, and the police is holding on to that. The only reason why I know about that is because Channel 9 tried to get that video, and that video has been put over to the FBI. And it's an ongoing investigation, so it might compromise the case.
Right.
So that's the only reason why they didn't get that tape. But that's why March the 1st is so significant.
Right.
That's because that's actually the last time that the police saw her alive. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're talking to her mother, you're not going to be able to get none of that information out there because, like I said, she eluded the police for 18 days.
And did the grandma have, avoid the police at any point in time?
Well, she had to be avoiding them too in them 18 days.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, they've been avoid the whole. See, this whole thing is, you know, I tried to, I interviewed them people several times.
Yeah. I know.
You know what I'm saying? And I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know, and it just was, the stories was changing up. It was just stuff that just didn't make sense to me. I'm a grandmother. I have 4 grandchildren.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I just would never even, my little Nova and my little Autumn,
Right.
to be allowing them to go with some grown man.
I know that's right.
You know, and spending time with him, and he's
Right.
taking her out of town and lying and saying he got his other grandchildren with him, and that don't you seeing them two walking down the hallway together, no grandchildren at
exactly.
toe. You know what I'm saying? So with I just believe that, like I said, I always believe that woman knew more than what she said. The
You're talking about the grandma
the
now.
grandmother and
Yeah.
the mother.
Well, the fact that the mother would not take a lie detector test on national television, and you had set that up,
Yeah,
that
but
was
let me
suspect.
tell you what's the gag is.
Uh-huh.
They just recorded again Wednesday for the Steve Wilkos show.
Oh wow!
I couldn't say nothing, y'all. So I know y'all looking at me like, oh, that ain't nothing. I couldn't
Right.
bust it out on that because it was a situation where she had been asked, could Antonio join? Okay. And when she found out that Antonio was joining, she basically said no. She wasn't going to do it if he joined. So they basically had to hide the fact that he was coming on there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it hasn't been aired yet. They just did the taping of it, the filming of it on Wednesday. Just did the filming of it, and I ain't even gonna get all into it.
Right. Watch it.
I'ma save it for y'all to watch.
Uh-huh.
But I'ma tell you like this: what I'ma tell you is she denied a second chance
To take
to
a lie
take a lie detector test. Okay. She
yeah.
denied it 2 times. So I don't know what she told y'all. I was there to hear the whole thing in the background and be quiet. Okay. She denied it twice. Okay.
I don't understand
Yeah.
a parent doing that to their kid. I never
for
will.
y'all that's looking, this is Felicia. On the top, this is what she looked like on the top when she went missing, when she was reported missing 7 years ago, March the 1st, 2014, from the DC General Homeless Shelter. The top picture. The bottom picture is her age progression.
Right.
What she might look like today. You know, Felicia would be 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is the age progression. This was done by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So I got it up here. I know y'all can see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Another case I wanted to talk about is Olga Oro. I'm going to keep talking about that case. I'm gonna hold
Gotcha.
this picture up right here because the thing about Olga's case is she has not been located yet, and the man that's responsible for her abduction and also her murder
It's not talking.
is not talking. So they have arrested 55-year-old Darnell Sterling with the murder of Olga Oro, who was reported missing July the 16th, 2020 from the 300 block of Massachusetts Avenue. Okay, he's arrested. We haven't found her. I want y'all to take a good look at this picture. There's a $25,000 reward for any information leading to her whereabouts, where she might be at. You know, if you know any information on the case at all, please reach out to the Metropolitan Police Department at 202-727-9099. I'm gonna hold this picture up a little longer so y'all can take a look. 34 years old. And the sad part about that is she had her son was 7 at the time. And he was there, when those god awful thing, whatever happened to her, he was there. Okay. So if y'all know something, you know, on any case, any missing persons case or any murder case, y'all, it doesn't take nothing no more for you all to call. You know, you can text, you can leave a voicemail. You don't have to do too much of nothing no more. You don't even have to. I know a lot of y'all have this fear of having to appear in court and things of that nature. It don't even get that far.
Right.
Sometimes the police just need leads to add to what they already probably know.
Exactly.
Understand, you know, police know some things. They just need some help with proving the stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They need hard, cold evidence to prove this stuff. They can say it. They can speculate it. They can have a little bit of evidence. They can know for some fingerprints, all of that stuff. But it's just some things when you're trying to prosecute a murder case, it's very hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And another thing too, when you're trying to take somebody's liberties from them, that's guaranteed by the Constitution. It's got to be airtight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be airtight.
So anybody that's a DC case, Olga Oro is out of Washington, DC. Like I said, the incident happened. Her disappearance was reported on July the 16th, 2020. So it was a hot day that day. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? And she lived in the 300 block of Massachusetts Avenue, but she worked at the Harris Teeter over at the Navy Yard, you know, the waterfront. So she was very known. People, I was passing out flyers, me and Jewel and Tiffany, and people was like, oh my God, they look at the flyer, they was like, oh, I know her.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she worked right there.
Right.
Oh, I know her. I see her with her son. Used to see her with her son all the time. You know, things of that nature. So she was a very bubbly person. I had talked to over 100 people, and nobody had nothing bad to say about her.
Right. Now, the guy who they locked up, that you just kind of happened across him while you were passing out flyers and having dialogue with those people. Did he have any previous DV charges, domestic violence charges as a related to her?
Well, from my understanding, 2 other women came forth and said that they had some encounters with this man.
Okay.
He worked at some type of intake center. And see, this is another thing. I'm going to go back to Relicious case, because the man that's accused of having her, he worked at the DC General Homeless Shelter. He had just gotten out of jail. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know what the charges were all about, but why would they even consider allowing people like that to work in places where there's children and there's women and families and stuff?
Because if you don't know what the charges were, it could have absolutely nothing to do with trafficking or sex trafficking or come on now, pedophilia or anything like that. And we always advocate that, especially black folks, get a second chance. You don't send somebody to jail and say, okay, this is, you did this, you pay, you serve 3 years, 6 years, whatever the sentence is, and you come out and you're going to have a second chance. Our society does not work like that with black folks. So I'm saying all that to say I can understand why they would give him a chance.
I mean, well, it
depending on what the charge were.
I'm going to say that it works like that for the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It works like that for the wrong people, because like I said, he had a job at Virginia Williams. That wasn't the first intake center he worked at. And then he was able to come to the DC General Homeless Shelter.
You get information on all these folks.
And giving these babies, offering them money and candy and all of this type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And so, I just got okay. See, that's what I'm saying. I love my family. I don't call y'all followers no more. I call y'all family. Okay, the city of Minneapolis just reached a $27 million settlement with George Floyd's family. That's breaking news, okay? Wow. 27, yeah.
Yeah, but again, this is what really messes with me, and I had something about that because Maryland is looking to address that issue as well. But that it's disturbing to me, the part of these big budgets with the police. Lawsuits are built into that budget. That should not be. You can't put a price on. I mean, nobody could put a price on your life to make.
And then just the fact that they charged that man with third-degree murder. What the hell is third-degree murder?
And that's only in different states. But the reason why they wanted to bring that third charge is because it will be easier for that black DA to get a conviction. Now, I don't know if I shared this with you, but Chauvin, the guy who is actually had the knee on the neck, he was initially going to take a plea deal for 10 years. But Barr, Attorney General Barr, said, no, that's not enough. I said, okay. So that's one good thing that he did.
Yeah.
Let
I
it go to
mean,
trial.
my whole thing is, Jamarian Robinson.
That one too.
I'm gonna
that
bring
bothered
y'all
him.
something. I'm gonna bring because I'm gonna have his mom in here because a lot of the shows that I did in the past, I'm gonna do over.
Yeah,
you know, because I think that it deserves a do over in a place like this.
Yeah, it's got a
You know
broader
what I'm
audience.
saying? It's
You
got
reach
a
more-
broader audience. You're gonna reach more people. But Jamarian Robinson was a young man, 26 years old, who was shot 76 times by a U.S. Marshals task force in East Point, Georgia, back in 2015. Okay,
knocking on a door.
Yeah,
that
they had no business coming to this man's house. They overkilled him. Okay, his mom has been fighting Monteria Robinson. Shout out to Monteria Robinson.
Yes.
I saw her on Basketball Wives.
Oh, did you?
She had a appearance on Basketball Wives because one of the ladies' brothers were murdered by the police. So she was basically trying to, just talk to them about what she's going through with her son. And when I see that fight that she puts up, and I'm pretty sure she could have got settlements and she could have got, hush hush money. But that money is not worth her son. It's not going to bring her
price tag on that. You can't do it.
So if I can have somebody locked up, have one of those god awful police locked up for the rest of their life, and I don't ever have to have a dime of that money, I would choose to go that route too. I don't want the money. God forbid. I pray every day because my son is a driver, because he's out here and he's a black man. He might have to encounter one of these bad cops.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I pray all the time that nothing like that has will ever happen because
we just got to get police reform all the way across the board. That George Floyd law is the House has passed it. It's going to the Senate, just like H.R. 1, the Voting Rights Protection Act. That's passed the House, is going to the Senate. Now,
just think of how many lives could have been saved if they would have already had that law out. You know what I'm saying? How many black boys, our black men. Lives that could have been saved if they would have already had that out. I watched a video of one of my moms who lost her son, Latanya Howe. She lost her son due to violence, being murdered by police. Okay, and she had to sit in on that hearing and listen to that thing being passed. And I said, I cried my eyes out watching her because it's like she said, if this law would have been put into place, my son would still be alive right now.
And here is where we, the people, can help. This is what we've been talking about too. We put these people who make these kind of laws in place. They can't just hear from you every 2 years or every 4 years or every 6 years. You got to get in their behinds on a regular basis. You know that these two pieces of legislation have passed the House of Representatives because that's where everything starts. They always do the first draft of all the legislation in this country. Then it moves over to the Senate to be voted on. But as it stands now, it takes a 60 vote. It takes 60 votes to put anything into law. That's where that filibuster comes in, where one person can hold up a piece of legislation. The filibuster's gotta go. Because there's a lot of bills that'll do us good, and those are two of them.
Yeah, I know I got all off but I had just gotten that, that they
good.
had settled, for that. And I just wanted to let y'all know because it is breaking news. They just settled for that. But
Right.
I want to get back into these missing persons cases. And now I want to speak on the case of Akia
Eggleston.
Akia Shawanti Eggleston. Shanti Eggleston. Here's a picture. Y'all can see it's kind of small. Here is some more. Y'all know how I am about, I just only put one picture on a flyer, but these are kind of small. Okay, so maybe I need to hold them to this camera.
You want me to take it over there since I'm a little bit taller than you?
It's look a little bad. I'm pretty sure they know. My people know who Akia Anderson
Yeah.
is because they see her plastered up and down my page all the time. But she was reported missing in the Cherry Hill section of Baltimore, May the 7th. Okay, after she didn't arrive to her baby shower. Okay, so the day that she was reported missing, she had planned a baby shower because she was 8 months pregnant. 8 months pregnant with a breech pregnancy. This was a baby shower that she had paid for out of her own money.
Yeah.
That's kind of strange for somebody to
And that's a
disappear.
double missing.
Yeah, and this happened in 2017. It's coming up on 4 years. May the 7th will be 4 years of Akia's disappearance. She leaves behind. She has her daughter was 3 years old at the time when she went missing, and family still looking.
Yeah,
Still looking for her. They still want to know, where she is. She went missing under, some kind of crazy circumstances. But a couple of weeks after her disappearance, they had, marked her as a homicide. We in the missing persons community, no, we always hold on to hope.
Yeah.
That's why yellow is the color that represents missing people, and it's also the color that represents hope. Okay, so even in a situation like that where I know that she wouldn't have just missed her baby shower,
Right.
she wouldn't have just missed, just left her 3-year-old daughter behind. She was excited about having a new baby, and from what all of her friends and her parents said, the Wilkinsons, she was very.
I know her dad especially. He just seemed really broken.
Yeah. It's one of them things. I was telling some people that because I lost a nephew last year. We get ready to come up on his 1 year anniversary of his death. April the 9th will be 1 year, and I'm seeing what my sister is going through right now. She's going through it.
Right.
And what my little niece is going through right now. Because that was her brother.
Yeah.
And so this is new. And it's one of them things that you don't never get over it, you guys.
Oh, no.
Like you never get over it. You get to a point where you learn to swim. You learn to deal. And that's just what it is, So I have an issue because I've been seeing a lot of people, y'all want people to stand up with y'all, and all of this other stuff. But what if they don't have the strength to stand up?
Yeah, you can't condemn them for that.
What if they don't have the strength? Everybody ain't able in this situation. I lost my uncle. I can name so many people that I have lost due to this violence thing, and it was something totally different. I've lost people due to illnesses,
Right.
but the violence thing is something totally different.
Yeah, well, the illness thing is of God. The violence thing, it shouldn't be that you make a choice that I shouldn't live anymore. That should not happen.
Yeah, it's one of them things, where I'm like, y'all can't condemn people for that. Y'all can't. We have to be their strength.
Exactly.
You understand? We have to be their strength until they're able to have it. And we supposed to be praying for those people. We supposed to pray for them. Pray that they have the strength to be able to, to make it, to be able to fight Because you think they don't want justice? You think they wouldn't pretty much want to have their child back?
Exactly.
Or their husband or whoever they might have lost to that horrible, tragic thing? Like, y'all, I had to just stay away from Facebook and some of Facebook's characters on there because y'all don't understand. Everybody ain't able. So like I said, we're gonna fight, and we're gonna fight for the people that's not able. That's what we do as advocates and activists for the missing and murder. We fight for them, but that's why we're here. We're here to help the families. We're here not to just share their stories. We're here to fight with them. Sometimes we gotta stand in front of them, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Until they're able to stand up. Sometimes we have to pick them up underneath their arms and carry them to the point where they're able to fight. And that's okay too. Okay, but y'all gonna have to stop that. Seriously, people are suffering these challenges, is going through these things all over the country, all over the world. You know, so y'all can't continue to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I want to shout out Black and Missing Foundation for all of the work that they do when it comes to advocating and sharing the stories and putting the stories out there, keeping them relevant of our Black and brown missing loved ones. It's very important to support them. Donate. Go to their website, blackandmissingfoundation.org. If you would like to find out how you can donate, buy a t-shirt. You know, they have a lot of resources available for our families in our missing community. You know, so check them out and visit their website. And if you have somebody that you need advocating, you know, you need a family member, reach out to myself. You know, like I said, I am connected with them. They have been a great resource far as I'm concerned with my missing persons cases. It ain't a case that I haven't brought their way that they haven't put on their website.
Right, exactly.
And help promote and help, you know, if the families need flyers and then they're in another state, they're going to make sure that they can go to the Staples in that state and pick up flyers.
That's awesome.
Free of charge, because we all know any of y'all that have bought flyers, you know, paid for flyers to get, you know, printed up, y'all already know how that is. They are very expensive, especially when you're getting colored flyers. They're very expensive. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, y'all, and continue to share. Okay, because I've been noticing my timeline and my folks, and I see y'all on here right now. Y'all been on here for the whole show, and I want to tell y'all, you know, for last week, just helping me get in here and get settled and everything. Like, it was so refreshing. Right. Even though I couldn't answer the phone. You know, even though I couldn't answer the phone, but it was refreshing. Like, it's refreshing to look on this live right now and see my friends. You know, Winter and Priscilla. I love y'all, and Shanita and Kimberly, all of y'all. You know, Isha, all of y'all that has been supporting me, been supporting the show, been sharing the stories, been sharing the flyers. Keep up the great work, because I love when I go to y'all pages and I see the flyers been shared, or I can go on my page and I see the flyers shared 200 times, 300, 400 times.
That's good stuff.
It's picking up, y'all. And like I said, I wouldn't be able to do this without y'all support. Y'all have been supporting me since I left Focus Radio and started my own thing. Y'all, a lot of y'all was the ones that encouraged me to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it means everything. I love y'all. Continue to share. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with the Reading Black History Reading.
All right.
All right.
Success, or may that you failed, may that you see my growth, and you're still the same. Love can't come from hateful hearts. I know that it is mine. One by one they take their shots. Giants at my front line. Man born a rebel from birth, yeah. Value life for its worth, yeah, yeah. They try to fight me down each and every day. They try to pull me down, most of them wouldn't pay. Can't take none from me that you can't give to yourself. It's not that you don't like me, you just really don't love yourself. Love yourself. Are you mad that I'm proud of myself? Or mad you're ashamed? Are you mad that I freed myself? Or you're still in chains? Forgive them that they're so confused. I know it is blind. Love sees through their hateful hearts. You're on my front line. Man born a rebel from birth, yeah. Value life for its worth, yeah, yeah. They try to fight me down each and every day. They try to pull me down, most of them wouldn't pay. Can't take none from me that you can't give to yourself. It's not that you don't like me, you just really don't love yourself. I'm a reflection of you. You're a reflection of me. No negative.
And that's major.
Yeah. We're back, y'all. And so we're coming. I hate it. But, you know, but, hey, we'll get it together. But we're coming up on our Black History reading with A21.
Yes, indeed. Let's learn. Now, last week I started talking about God Bless the Child, the story of school desegregation, and I do have the habit of when I see a point that I want to expound upon, I stop and try to expound upon that point. And I think last week I was talking about when kids had to pay for education, and I look at the number of kids who don't even want to sit at the computer and do the work. And I stopped with that. But I'm not going to give any editorial comment. I'm just going to read the facts. Okay? All right. Black history is something that, because the school system isn't doing it, and because the mainstream media shies away from us, or has historically shied away from us, we got to do it. So I'm going to start with God Bless the Child, the history of desegregation. Now, although Charles Houston carried a 16-millimeter movie camera with him wherever he went, no one would mistake him for a typical northern tourist visiting the South. First, he was a black man, and blacks didn't take sightseeing trips through the South in 1935. Second, he wasn't filming the scenic countryside or historic Civil War sites. His subjects were schools, the buildings, the teachers, the buses, and the students. Charles Houston was the vice dean of Howard University School of Law in Washington, D.C. He was recording the dramatic disparity between black schools and white schools in South Carolina. In that state, as in all southern states, black children were not allowed to attend the same schools as white children. Houston was filming for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. In 1930, South Carolina spent 10 times as much on educating each white child as on each black child. Other southern states did little better. That's Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama, who devoted 5 times more money to the education of white children than to that of black children. Houston knew that it would take more than statistics to convince a nation that segregation was wrong. His film showed what those statistics meant to the lives of some of the 12 million blacks in America, 9 million of whom lived in the South. He contrasted the unheated cabins and tar paper shacks that served as schools for black children with the tidy brick and stone structures where white children learned. Houston called his documentary Examples of Educational Discrimination Among Rural Negroes in South Carolina, He used it as a teaching tool for his law students at Howard University, as a documentary when he spoke on college campuses or at NAACP events, and as another piece of the argument he was preparing on the racial injustice in America's schools, an argument he planned to take to court. His name may be little known, but the results of his efforts were profound. Charles Hamilton Houston was born on September 3rd, 1895, 8 months before the Supreme Court case decided the case of Plessy versus Ferguson. This case essentially told the South that segregation was legal. Houston would spend most of his adult life fighting to overturn that decision. The only child of William Houston and Mary Hamilton, Charlie, as he was known, received the best education a young black child could then expect in segregated Washington, D.C. At the turn of the century, there was a severe housing shortage in the nation's capital. Thousands of blacks lived on the streets with little or no medical attention. Jobs for minorities were scarce, and separate facilities for blacks, beaches, restaurants, schools, were the unwavering custom. But Charlie's parents made sure their son was well educated. His mother left her job as a school teacher to take a better paying work as a hairdresser. His father attended Howard University in the evening, earned a law degree, and established a successful law practice serving middle-class blacks in Washington, D.C. Mary Hamilton Houston was proud of her race. Although she looked white, she always made it clear that she was a Negro. Her clients in Washington were among the wealthiest and most powerful white in the city. Miss Houston refused to allow her white clients to call her by her first name, as they did most blacks in their service, and she always insisted on entering their homes through the front door. William Houston worked diligently to secure a better life for his family. He eventually became a part-time instructor at Howard University. With what he earned from his law practice, Mary's income from her hairdressing trade, and an economical lifestyle, the Houstons were able to move into one of Washington's black middle-class neighborhoods. Charlie Houston attended one of the finest all-black high schools in the country, where he became class valedictorian. Unlike most other black high schools, which were essentially vocational trade schools, the M Street High School's curriculum was based on college entrance requirements. There was no question that William and Mary would send their son to college. At age 16, Charlie left Washington to attend Amherst College in Massachusetts. He was the only black student in the class of 1915. Though his social life was limited, he proved himself academically. He was elected to Phi Beta Kappa and graduated with honors. Houston returned to Washington to decide what to do with his life. His father helped him secure a position as a temporary replacement for a Howard English instructor on leave. Charlie taught the usual English courses, but also developed a new one, Negro literature. Shortly before the United States entered World War I, Charlie knew that he would probably be drafted. He did not relish the thought of fighting to make the world safe for democracy when America was neither safe nor democratic for its black citizens. He knew that, as a black man, he would be assigned to a segregated unit and kept on labor details. Houston decided that if he had to go into the Army, he would go as an officer. Arguing that the Army's all-black units should be led by black officers and not by whites, as was custom, Houston and other Howard faculty members and students petitioned the federal government to establish a black officers training camp. Through persistence, they were successful, and in 1916, at age 21, Houston left Washington for officers training camp in Des Moines, Iowa. William Houston had always hoped that Charlie would one day join him at his law firm, but as dearly as he loved his father, Charlie was uncertain whether he wanted to enter the legal profession. The injustices he witnessed in the Army helped him make up his mind. In the Army, Houston became a judge advocate in military cases involving blacks. Essentially, A judge advocate acted as the prosecuting attorney, digging up evidence to support a guilty verdict. But Houston learned that it didn't take much evidence to successfully prosecute black soldiers. In one case, after a thorough investigation, he concluded there was insufficient evidence to convict. The defendants were acquitted, and, much to his surprise, Houston was told by his white commanding officer that he was no good. The judge advocate was expected to secure a conviction even without adequate evidence. In an even more disturbing case, Houston was appalled to watch the Army summarily destroy the military career of an exemplary black officer and sentence him to a year of hard labor for disorderly conduct and insubordination. The inequity of the Army's judicial system and the disproportionate harshness of the sentence raised Houston's ire. He later wrote, "I made up my mind that I would never get caught again without knowing something about my rights. That if luck was with me and I got through the war, I would study law and use my time fighting for men who could not strike back." 356.
Oh, keep on going.
Okay, all right.
Blaze ain't here. He's gonna be taking flight after we finish for the Friday night Blaze with DJ Blaze.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, Charles Hamilton Houston survived a tour of duty in France. On his return to Washington, he witnessed a series of race riots in his overcrowded hometown. He had returned to a country where black veterans were not always thanked for their efforts abroad. Blacks were attacked and even lynched in the South by whites who believed they had to be put back in their place. Determined to fight for those who could not strike back, Houston applied to Harvard University's law school. Once again, he left Washington for Massachusetts, arriving in Cambridge in the fall of 1919. An outstanding student, Charlie was the first black elected to the editorial board of the Harvard Law Review. He studied under Dean Roscoe Pound, then one of the leading proponents of sociological jurisprudence, a new approach to law that relied on sociological evidence as well as legal precedent when arguing a case. Another of Houston's mentors was Felix Frankfurter, a founder of the American Civil Liberties Union and later a justice of the United States Supreme Court. Houston received his law degree in 1922 and continued at Harvard on scholarship, earning a doctoral degree a year later. In 1924, Houston joined his father's law firm, fulfilling the elder Houston's long-held wish. The two had very different working styles. William, his father, though a generous man, did not believe in giving free legal advice.
I don't think no lawyer do though, not even today. You know, not even today. Not the ones I've been talking to.
Well, I know my niece doesn't. I know that. Okay.
So I guess that's something that ain't changed even with time.
Yeah. The services rendered are worthy of the fee, he would often say. He ran the office in a businesslike fashion, checking the accounts, balancing the books, and cutting back on expenses whenever and wherever possible. Charlie, on the other hand, took on cases for which the firm could expect little or no payment. For him, the law was a tool for aiding the oppressed. I love him already. But the divergent temperaments of father and son never hampered their close relationship. Charlie began teaching again at Howard University, this time in the School of Law. He wanted not only to practice the law, but to train others in it as well. Houston believed that black people needed black lawyers to represent them. He believed that if the legal system were to change, it would be because of the disciplined and consistent pressure exerted by a cadre of black lawyers. Howard University in Washington, D.C., was the largest all-black college in the United States. The college was established in 1867 to educate blacks excluded from other universities because of the color of their skin. While Harvard and a few northern colleges offered admission to a select number of blacks, Not a single Southern white university opened its doors to black students. Howard's law school would be pivotal if blacks were ever to make the justice system work for them. Houston's first year as a law professor could not be described as brilliant, but he quickly became a proficient teacher, and he developed a conviction that the legal education of blacks must be improved. And I believe that to this day. There I go with my editorial comment. But anyway, the real problem in those days, says James Nabrett, whom Houston eventually convinced to join Howard's faculty, was that we didn't have the facilities to argue these civil rights cases. We didn't have the law books. We didn't have the precedent cases. We didn't have the sample briefs and records of procedure. And we couldn't use the facilities or contacts of the bar associations since they wouldn't let us belong. At that time, blacks were not admitted to the local Washington affiliate of the all-white American Bar Association. Houston realized the importance of continuing education for lawyers and of a local bar association with a well-stocked library. With a handful of other D.C. lawyers, he established the Washington Bar Association for Blacks. In 1927, Houston was named director of a national survey conducted by Howard University on the training and activities of black lawyers in America. Perhaps the study's most telling finding was that America had few black lawyers well-versed in constitutional law. Without a thorough understanding of the Constitution, a lawyer could not successfully argue civil rights cases in federal court. Houston convinced Howard's president, Mordecai Johnson, that the university should offer a fully accredited full-time law program and that a thorough understanding of constitutional law should be mandatory for all students. It should be mandatory for everybody.
Yep, that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Why are colleges so high?
Because somebody figured out how to make money, how to make a lot of money off of it. I remember when my sister went to college. She went to DC Teachers College. $50 for a semester. $100 for the year.
Stop.
Yeah. And she got in there and got out.
Oh,
and she
my
paid
God.
She saved her babysitting money from
get
elementary school
to
high school.
But you see how easy it was for people to get into college? Well, not easy in a sense because they really didn't want us to be educated.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But you see how when it came to the money part of it, you know what I'm saying? And what we did, I mean, all she had to do was babysit some kids, save up her money, and put herself through school.
And I'm thinking because you know that all of that was, let me see, DC Teachers, Federal City, and Washington Technical Institute all came together to make the University of the District of Columbia. But I remember Howard University back in the day because I went there on a scholarship. And the scholarship was because I remember in the pre-college because they wanted us to go there in the Upward Brown program to get a feel for college life. And it was fun. Right. But I remember in 1966, it didn't, and it was pricey then. $1,000 to go there. People would laugh at you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. try going up there and giving them $1,000 now. See how far you get. You might get a couple of books. That's pretty much it. But I was saying the cost, the principle of education back in the civil rights era, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, that you got the education was more important than the cost of it. I think I was sharing with you the other week about the first book that I read, Tell All the Children Our Story. When the families in Georgia is
you
the
ain't
state
bring that with you, did you?
No, I finished that book. I'm trying to.
Well, maybe, bring it next time, because maybe these guys would like to hear it. You know what I'm saying? We got a new audience. We got to kind of, give a little something too.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is stuff that our children, they just take the time and talk to them about this. If you don't feel like listening now, save it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to it together later and talk about it, because nobody is teaching our children the greatness from which they come. We came over here, no language, no nothing, and I see how far we have come. And the only way white America has been able to slow us down is through violence.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how they always do.
Yeah.
That's how they always do. I knew that some white folks could be evil and just manipulating and just disgusting because of the racism, part of it. But I didn't know they had it in them.
Yeah. That's pure unadulterated evil, what was inflicted on black folks. And again, everybody isn't like that, but you can't look at people and see who's like that and who's not. So that's a big reason I think that a lot of black folks, especially folks in my age group, are leery of white folks, period.
I know I am. I'm not going to say I'm leery of them, but now I can hold my purse. When I walk by one of them, I hold my purse, grab on my purse like this.
You sound like one of my friends
said.
said.
I do it like this. I do every chance I get.
Or she'd be at a traffic light.
Yeah, and hold on to a purse. At
a traffic light, and just look over. If a white person's in the car, just look at them and stare. And when they look back, she'll put her locks down. She'll, even though she got electronic locks.
She'll put it down. Yeah, just so they can see, because we want, because we have had to live in situations like that. We still do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We still do today are dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when I moved to St. Louis, and I remember I just needed to get away.
Right.
I needed to save my life so that I can be around for my children.
Exactly.
I needed a change of pace and just a change of scenery and just to do some things. So I went to St. Louis.
Right.
And my first encounter with racism, it was actually with a black person.
That was mine. When I decided to wear my Angela Davis Bush going to Howard, coming up Florida Avenue, I got taunted from where it used to be an old car barn on Benton Road. You might remember that. Yeah. From that point, once we passed Spingarn, from that point all the way up to Howard, black folks, where's your straightening comb and all of that stuff. I say. But again, we have been culturally conditioned to undervalue ourselves, underestimate what we can accomplish, and therefore, in our mind's eye, we're marginalized. We don't believe in ourselves, but that is the conditioning of white America, the systemic racism that of year after year after year after year. And I want people to also remember last year when all of those black men this was before Ahmaud Arbery got shot, black men being hung all across the country, and police were saying that they were suicides. These are it's just so much that we can ill afford to forget. There's so much that we have to convey to our children, because especially you got black boys, it's just not safe. America is afraid of you for only one reason: because of your skin color. White America knows the greatness that you came from. They don't want you to tap into that. You have to push back on their narrative. So.
I know you wanted to get into, you had a couple of more things to discuss about the stimulus package, right?
Well, a couple more, wait a minute. Where did I put that piece of paper? made me lose it, Black.
I just look. I had to get our new DJ, y'all. I ain't even finished telling y'all about our new DJ, y'all. We got a new DJ coming, baby, and she is fire. Okay, fire. She's going to fit right in here in Community Love in Black Rose Garden. She's going to be running the music for now on. Okay,
Yes,
even when she ain't here, her tracks gonna be playing.
So we won't get muted out. The information won't get muted out no more. We are done
more.
with that.
No more. We're done with all of that. So we had to do some new things. But guess what? Guess what the gag is, y'all? She's just 16 years old. You hear what I'm saying?
Black girl magic.
Black girl magic all day, every day. You hear me? And twice on Sundays.
Yes,
okay.
indeed.
But let me tell you something. I want y'all to go check her out on Instagram at DJ Laylo, Lailo. Check her out, y'all.
Okay, you know I gotta write that down, right?
Check her out. I'm getting ready to post her little pretty pictures on here because we ain't get her started today. You know, school is still in session, and like I said, I wanted to bring it to this new network. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be girl power right here. It's going to be girl power, and I love children, and I love children that are doing great things, that add great things to the universe. You know what I'm saying? She's a activist and advocate against bullying and, you know, children problems. So we gonna have, we got
3 generations in here.
Yes, we do. I'm telling you, we gonna get busy this year. We gonna give y'all something. I'm telling you.
Something to chew on and something to act on. We're going to give you the information. Now, what you do prayerfully, you will act on it because, again, that's how you get stuff done. You see these white folks, these Republicans especially, who are pushing narratives, who are pushing lies, quite frankly. And we as Democrats have been too polite, if you will, to push back. We got to push back. And ain't nothing more powerful than pushing back with the truth.
That's right.
Nothing's more powerful than that. And we're going to work to bring you that each and every week that we're on these airwaves. But it's a little bit after 4, but there's a couple of things I want to call to your attention, particularly in D.C. and Maryland, because I've seen requests, where y'all have a lot of food banks in Maryland. Do you know of any in D.C.? In the capital area food bank runs a food bank in D.C. That number for information as to dates and times is 202-526-5344. It is a nonprofit, and they work with churches and charities to provide centers with food items. So again, if you are, and they have fresh vegetables and that kind of thing, which is, pretty pricey in the grocery store. Take advantage of that. Also, Community Harvest, they're in Northwest D.C. I do have a street address for them of 2437 15th Street Northwest, and they too are reachable by phone at 202-667-8875. And we give you the numbers because we don't know what's opening and allowing people in and who's not. So please, call before you just trek up to these places. Go ahead. Okay, and the third place I have is From the Ground Up at 645 Taylor Street Northeast. That number is 202-526-5344. Now, just for D.C., anything, any questions that you may have as it relates to the COVID-19 vaccination, pre-registration, and system information, you can call a toll-free number at 855-363-0333. Okay, did you get ready to say something?
Also, DC has a lot of, they have some benefits available. They really do. They have some resources available. And to reach resources for housing, for utility support, as well as healthcare resources. Let me see what else. Healthcare resources, utility support, and housing support. Like if you need some rental assistance to help pay your rent, call 211. Okay, call 211 and ask them. Let them know what you're looking for, and they should be able to direct you in the right, place. Also, guys, whoever get DC SNAP benefits, download your app. All of your information, all the information that you need, far as where to go and get food when you run out of it. How much you're going to be getting far as your food stamps is concerned, because there's been a 15% increase on the food stamps because of the pandemic situation. So you go to your app and you can find out all of that stuff, as well as when your checks are going to be coming out, far as the stimulus package. All of that is listed on the app.
Wow.
All of it. Yeah. I just got.
Wonder does Prince George's have an app like that, or do you know?
Prince George's County also has a SNAP app. That they can download, EBT app. And it should have.
But I thought it was just the one thing, just the EBT.
It's an app.
Oh, okay.
It's an app that you download for Maryland. Just put in Maryland EBT program, and download the app for that, and it'll show you your food stamp benefit balance, and you'll be able to check the balance and all of that stuff from that app.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also, like I said, Amazon Prime and Prime and they have the Instacart, and a lot of the local grocery stores are doing the deliveries for some of you all who are, don't want to,
who
go
can't
out.
get out.
Yeah, or who can't get out. They deliver it to you. If you call early enough or place your order early enough, you can get it by, within that day. Okay, so we coming to an end of the show. And also, stay tuned after Community Love in Black Roses Garden. Okay, stay tuned for Friday Night Blaze with DJ Ablaze.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
He's going to be tearing it up tonight. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So, it's out time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one last thing. Anything you want to find out as relates to Maryland COVID, just go to www, and you have to spell this out, Prince George's County MD.gov. Anything you want to know about COVID, locations where they're offering the vaccine, mobile service to, because there's some folks who cannot get out and whose families want them to have the vaccine. All things COVID are at that website. Let's see, what's this? Department of Housing and Community Development, because there are some folks who are having, there's some folks who have gotten evicted in Maryland. I thought it was a moratorium on that, but I've seen people get put out.
I told you to ask about that, because from what I know is that the only people that they are evicting in Maryland is the people that owe back rent. And I'm talking about before COVID even set in. So we have some of them people that do owe.
No, I know you told me that, but this particular neighbor said that that was not his case.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember you told me to look into that. But if you have issues like that, and you're bunking with somebody else because you've had that issue, call 301-883-5501 and get some help and get your issue resolved. I'll talk about this police immunity stuff next week, because I was really excited about that. And just want to remind folks that our next big battle, we got past the stimulus. Actually, I think it's two big battles, but the next big battle is H.R. 1, because you've seen, I know you've read or seen on the news, where general assemblies in Republican-led states, or where they have the majority of Republicans in the assembly, they're putting forth some stringent voter restrictive voter suppression, voter depression tactics, because you can't give somebody water in line.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But they're trying to make that a law in the books. But with all this legislation that's going on in all of these places, if H.R. 1 passes, those states are going to have to, at minimum, have at least the standard that's in that bill in their legislation. So all of that stuff, when H.R. 1 is passed, is going to go in the trash. But let's keep an eye out on that, because we've got to get these Bamas out so we can get our democracy back and we can get some stuff done for we the people. So with that, Black, I'll turn the mic back over to you.
Yeah, and just a reminder, because like I said, I had just got that breaking news that the family of George Floyd was rewarded They actually won the settlement for $27 million. Okay, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all know how I feel. Well, a lot of y'all know how I feel about that, because, like I said, with Monteria Robinson having her child being shot 76 times by the U.S. Marshals Task Force, and all she wants is justice for her child.
And weren't some of those officers have some kind of
they had already had criminal records and,
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
what I
They
thought.
shouldn't have even been police officers.
Exactly.
And to overkill her child like that, I've never heard of
Me either.
somebody being shot 76 times. And then on top of that, have a hand flash grenade
Yeah.
thrown on top of their body.
Right. Yeah. That's sick.
Y'all.
It's a lot of sick
I'm
people
telling
in
y'all, we can't just keep on folding because they offer us some money, because situations like that, we should not be able to be bought. Because you ain't gonna be able to buy mine. You ain't gonna be able to buy me if something like that was to happen to somebody that I love, especially somebody that I brought into this world.
Hashtag me either.
Baby,
Uh-huh.
that ain't happening.
Yeah.
And I know how Monteria Robinson feel.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure she would have been took some settlements.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's not about that.
She's doing that for all of us.
For all of us. The
That's
same
what
thing
she's
with
doing for-
Breonna Taylor.
Uh-huh.
To take that little pissy little bit of money.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't nothing. That's not going to, and then they just take it and they give you that money.
And then they make you sign the non-disclosure.
Make you sign that non-disclosure where you never talk about it again.
Uh-huh.
And your child is still gone. And when that money runs out, which you ain't gonna get all of that anyway, because taxes gonna eat that up. Once it run out, then you're gonna be back to thinking about your child, trying to get some help, and you ain't gonna be able to, or justice or whatever.
I don't know that that's taxable, but I think I will look that up, because I think that's kind of like insurance money. It's not taxable.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not 100%
'Cause
sure.
know
I
in
will
some
check.
Some situations it is taxable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where they take, a
good
certain
portion
amount,
of it.
take a good portion of it out of it, and
Yeah.
give you the rest.
Yes, indeed.
So that's a mess, y'all. We gonna get ready to get up out of here.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Community
Absolutely.
Love at Black Roses Garden.
Yes,
we will
indeed.
see y'all next week.
Next Friday.
Next Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Maybe a little longer, because the boss letting us just feel ourselves today. And get ready to tune in to Evening Blaze with DJ Ablaze.
Well, just keep it on Blazing Radio.
That's right.
And last but certainly not least, remember that, COVID is contagious. We all know that. But kindness and hope are contagious as well. Let's work on those two things in our communities, because it does not matter what you have done. It matters what you do from here. This is A21. I'm out.
What we smoking? Lord, no. Rasta man talking. Marijuana we are born. Marijuana we are born. Marijuana we are born. Give me some. Marijuana we are born. We put in a chill. Marijuana we are born. Hold on steady.